now.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Nigerian Space, TNS. Today we're going to be speaking about human rights violation both home and abroad. If you're not aware of what's going on in the world right now, you're probably living under a rock. We're just going to speak about police brutality, Black Lives Matter, and We Are Tired, which is basically the hashtag for saying no to rape. As usual, you have myself, Adiola. We have Ife, we have Stoops, and joining us
Hey.
today we have Sosa.
Hi.
Hi guys. I'm emotionally, honestly, I'm emotionally drained. We've danced around so many topics that this is today. It's just like we just have to hit the nail on the head. It would be disingenuous of us not to discuss these topics today. So, you guys are in the United States, so I guess you're experiencing it firsthand, but all across the world, everyone is protesting Black Lives Matter. So yeah, just speak freely. If you have any personal experiences or racism that you'd like to share, that would be good to share. Whoever wants to take the floor first, I'm not even picking on anyone today.
I think Esosa should. I think Esosa
Are you
should.
sure?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
just go for
I'll
it.
just go for it. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think I didn't really understand what racism was. Just being an immigrant and coming into this country, it wasn't something that really affected me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think our parents were like, "Hey, go to Nigeria. I mean, go to America. There's going to be people who are going to, be scared of your skin color or whatever." That's not something
Mm.
that they teach us in school back home. So I think the first time I really ever like truly experienced, I think maybe even police brutality in a sense was at a routine traffic stop, and I'm thinking that everything is going to be fine, and the police officer actually pulls his gun because, of course, me not knowing anything about wearing a hoodie in a car, so he
Oh,
Mm,
wow.
yeah, so I had a hoodie
That
on.
was in America or in
That
Nigeria?
was that was here in New York.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I was going to go pick up a friend, and the guy, he approached the car. He had the gun, um, just like to my windshield. And then he looked in and he
Wow.
saw, okay, it's a woman. And then he now put the gun back inside his
Wow.
mm,
his
mm,
holster. So that assumptive type of narrative has kind of
Wow.
gone through, even like in the workplace and stuff. Being somebody who is always the only black person, always the only black woman in certain situations. I mean, there's this like underlying current of racism that has just been around in the workplace. So, I mean, again, not knowing what it fully was, I'm pretty sure I experienced it even in high school or even in middle school, but it didn't really set in until like, that awareness started happening for me as an adult. So, um,
Yeah, that's true. I think that's why I had to ask if it was in Nigeria or in America, because
yeah.
that has happened to me a couple of times, a lot in Nigeria, where they will just cock their guns at you.
Hmm.
It now
Yeah.
became a normal thing for me in Nigeria that you just see them do that and we just laugh.
Yeah.
That police now, calm down. And you give them whatever you're drinking while you're driving, or you give them some money
Yeah.
just to threaten you. But it becomes a norm for us in Nigeria. We think, oh, they're just shakaraing us. But I think it feels different. It's different if it happens in America, and
Mm.
then you now get to see that this is not even normal. No one should even pull a gun at you for no
Hmm.
reason. And I would say I'm lucky. I've not experienced any police brutality in America. I mean, I had a party once. They came over to my house. That's the closest I've had to with them. Came over that there was noise, and I was like, okay, party is over. I
Hmm.
mean, even before we had the party, we got a cop to actually be like around to make sure that everything was okay. And the cop actually told us that okay, you're only allowed to have this party till like a particular like till 1 a.m. or so. But after that, no more noise in the neighborhood because I live in a neighborhood that is kind of like we can't make too much noise. So yeah, the party was done. The cop left, everybody left, people were leaving and going to their cars, and then that was when these cops came to my house and knocked on the door. I was like, oh yeah, you guys, I've been getting calls from your neighbors, like you guys are making noise. Well, that was my previous it's not where I live right now, but I was still explaining to the guy that, okay, yeah, come on, if the party is over now, there's no noise now. So why would neighbor call you to come right now? That the party is over, everything is done. Yeah, like, yeah, we've been getting calls. I'm like, okay, that was then, but why are you coming now? And I mean, that was just all I was saying. And then, because actually, I just got to America not too long after when that happened. But my other family, friends, and people that have been in America for a long time, they were getting mad. And me, to me, I was like, like, calm down. Now, why are you mad at this company? I know that he's trying to, is looking at you and is just profiling you that you're being a nuisance and you don't get it. And I was just there trying to explain stuff to him, like the Nigeria Cup that you just talk to
Oh,
them and things will go down.
mm.
But that was my first
I
time.
think following on from Shuk's point, I'm sorry to cut in, just
Yeah.
following on from your point on you mentioning that happened when you had recently arrived in America. Now this week, like I said, it's really been exhausting from
Mm.
all ends,
Right.
both home and abroad. It's been exhausting. Just speaking about this police brutality, I found that Black people, we understand, we know what's happening, we understand the undercurrents. It's our reality. It's as simple as that. But for me, I've also tried to kind of look at things from the other side because I have a very good friend of mine and he does have housemates who are white, and he rang me during the week and he was kind of ranting like these people just don't get it, they don't get it, they don't get it. And to a certain extent, while I can understand that, listen, if you haven't walked in those shoes, that's not your reality. You really don't understand. But
Mm.
you can't continue to be deaf however many years later. If we are telling you that this is our reality, I just feel like, in fact, just shut up. Just shut up and listen. Because if racism isn't really an issue, why is it so hard to end it? Why are we getting these all lives matter when we're talking about Black Lives Matter? I feel like the favorite
Mm.
analogy that I've come across trying to break it down to people who may not be sympathetic to our cause is you have a row of 10 houses. One house is on fire. Obviously, all the houses in that neighborhood matter to the people that own them. But if one
Yeah.
house is on fire, in that very
Everybody tries
moment,
to,
the
you
house
gotta
that
try
is
Mhm.
on
to, yeah.
fire, house that matters. That's not saying that the other houses don't matter. So I just feel
Mm.
like, honestly, I keep saying it's really been an exhausting week.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people also who I've been speaking to who are in America, who are back home in Nigeria as well, just be like, okay, but in the UK, it's not that bad. I'm not even going to try
The
and
UK is,
understand
I
where
don't know. I
people
think that's even worse because let me even let me to really tell you how worried I am. It got to a point. I
mm,
always tell my wife that, you know what, should we just leave this America and go somewhere else? Like
mm,
it's like I got kids, man. I don't want to, I don't want to raise my kids in a society where I'm scared of what would happen to them when they go out. I want them to be safe.
mm, mm,
But then I
mm,
read a book sometime and I've read up some things and it came up with what I got from that is that it's actually really worse in Europe than it is in America.
Yes, it is.
Americans will smile at you, but they hate you. I mean, I don't want to say white or black people, but Americans will smile at you, but they really hate you. They don't like you. They would do nice things for you, nice things in code, but they don't like you. But in Europe, they don't give a damn. They're going to tell you straight up in your face, and that's what I notice about Europeans. They will tell you straight up in your face, go back, or they're very, very rude. And I've heard stories. I know people have experienced stuff like that in Europe, and I know UK too is also part of
mm,
Europe. So I'm like, you know what? It's everywhere. So it's something that is not only peculiar to America, it's peculiar to everyone,
mm,
definitely everyone in the world. And I just saw a comment from Wale Oye from on our YouTube channel. He said, experienced it at workplace, quite sad actually, because quite sad actually, because it was from the manager that employed me.
mm,
It's That's
mhm,
another angle to it. You might be working in a place and you don't even know how they're profiling you racially. Like, I remember when my uncle first left Nigeria to work on an oil company in I think, where did he even go to? Maybe UK first. Like, it was been a long time, and he came back home for vacation. I was like, "Ah, uncle is back, blah blah blah. We're having fun." And the only thing I remember him say was, "Man, I can't wait to be the boss." Like, guy, calm down now. You just left Nigeria. Why are you thinking about being the boss? Like, you should even thank God first that you're overseas, and then now you're talking about you want to be the boss. And I'm like, why? And he said, no, that there is no black guy in our leadership, and it's not even that they're more educated than I am, but it's just I don't know. It feels somehow, and I need to get to that
It's a
position.
systemic oppression. It's a systemic
So
oppression.
that was
Yeah.
I was too young then. I was like, oh, what is Uncle trying to say? And now coming to America to start working in America, I can see that, oh shit, they would employ you, they'll give you a job, but there's no way in hell with all your double degrees that you can be sitting on the table with them. Even if you're sitting on the table with them, my friends, I remember when we joke about it, we have a WhatsApp group and we joke about it, and they will be talking about, oh, when he's trying to make, even this, my friend studied in America, oh, and when they're discussing engineers, when they're discussing in a board meeting conference, they'll be like, oh, when you start talking, they'll look at you like, oh, you went to University of Utah, right? Oh, okay, yeah. Now we get why you're talking like that. Or they look at you and be like, oh, yeah, yeah. I remember I applied for a job in America. I was qualified, way qualified for that job. I was just looking for a way to step into that company. And my final interview, some lady was like, oh, you studied in Nigeria. How are we going to verify your education? I'm like, where do you think? I was so pissed. I knew that was it for me. I was like, I'm not even going to get it. I don't even want this job. And I'm like, what do you think Nigeria is? Like, my school has a website. You can put in my matric number on there and you will see my degree. You will see my name right there. But even if you don't want to do that, we have other organizations like West and all that can verify my education. Are you like, are you seriously asking me that question now? Because I'm black, because I'm from Nigeria, you think, okay, with all my experience and everything, no. I'm not holding it against that because, yeah, some Nigerians who have messed up the situation around, but don't look at every Nigerian and think that, okay, they come again. They probably don't have a degree or probably don't have, it's all lies on the resume or something. So it's just too much. Like, I'm like you, I'm overwhelmed. A lot of things when it happens, I just
Yeah.
smile and just move on. Like, you know
Well,
what?
that's the thing, and I feel like where it's more overwhelming is for us is knowing that as Nigerians, there are so many circumstances where people have left Nigeria. There was a tweet I think that was going around a couple of days ago, and this person said if there was some argument about, what level of money you should be earning in Nigeria in order to live a comfortable life. Now, growing
Mm.
up, I used to hear this all the time. People saying, if you have money, you can live in Nigeria. If you have money, you can live in Nigeria. And my counter argument for that has always been, as an Englishman, like someone from England, as an Englishman, if you travel anywhere in the world, if you have money that enables you to live outside of your country. If you hit rock
Definitely.
bottom, you should be able to go back to your country. But the leaders have really, really, really let us down to the point where a lot of people are escaping Nigeria just for the mere fact that even if they're earning those six figures, they want to leave Nigeria so that they can be in a position where they're not spending all their money on fueling their generators, on paying bribes so that the policeman will leave you alone so you can go about your business. So for me, it's really been heartbreaking to the point where it's almost to the point where it's like you're damned if you stay and you're damned if you leave. And
Mm.
that's where it's really heartbreaking for me because the way Nigeria is, when you hear of the amount of money that politicians are stealing, and yeah, we bant amongst ourselves and we say, money no day Nigeria, Jare, they are just deceiving us. So where are all these billions coming from?
Mm.
And I remember at the beginning when coronavirus first broke out, it was kind of like a joke that okay, all the politicians, maybe they are trapped in Nigeria now. There's nowhere to
Mm-hmm.
go. At least
Where would they
now,
go
maybe
for the
they'll work on
treatments?
health sector. That was where we were at the beginning. I guess at the end of March, beginning of April, saying now they will be forced to. Only for us to read 3 days ago that they slashed the health sector's funding by almost half and allocated millions for
Renovation.
national housing renovations. Renovations. It's like we're at that point where it's like, okay, so what is the way forward? What really is the way forward? And I'm just going to link it straight into the protest that we've been having back home because I was amongst a few people that trolled because I guess the Black Lives Matter protest. It's going on all around the world. Each and every country is picking up on it, and people are going out. And at one point, I did see a post that said Nigerians were protesting Black Lives Matter back home. In the first 5 minutes of seeing that post, I'm not even gonna lie, it was hilarious. I was laughing, I was abusing. But at the end of the day, when you think about the domino effect, a lot of Nigerians really do leave Nigeria to go to America. So I don't see any reason why we cannot protest Black Lives Matter in Nigeria. However, how about our own issues at home? Because we have police brutality at home, and it's like these jokes are actually writing themselves. The Nigerian police force was there tweeting, "We stand in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement." Like,
I hope they fire whoever is.
it was really an LOL moment. Like
Okay.
so for me, it's like these jokes are really writing themselves. But
Nigeria
like,
is a joke.
how
I'm
do we
sorry
combat-
to say that Nigeria is a joke, man. Like,
I'm with you, but Nigeria is a joke. But the thing is, how do we turn this joke around? Before we came live, I was watching this video. You know how it is. You stumble upon something, and then before you know it, you're in the whirlpool of YouTube. I came across this lady called she's a white woman, Jane Elliott, and she's famous for this blue eye, brown eye.
She's a social media sensation. No?
That woman, yeah.
She's a social media sensation.
I really. But the thing is, this woman has been doing this for
A long
5
time.
decades.
Yeah.
5 decades. And it's like, and I've watched some of her experiments with different groups, and I'm like, yo, they're really not getting it. So at what point do we get to flip the script? Like, what can we do in our generation to flip this script? I just don't get it.
I think the question is
before
there
we go,
anything that can be done? I don't get it, man.
Before we go on, let me read a few comments.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you have Whitney asking a question, which is quite interesting because I've had this conversation a few times. She said, "Do you think there is such a thing as African privilege when it comes to racism in America? Some people say that Caucasians give Africans preferential treatment over Black Americans." Seraphine said, he was replying to Whitney, and he said, "I think it is because white people are more interested in the African culture." Before we address this, let me just show this in for both sides, home and abroad, in terms of everything that's happening. Fine, we have the hashtags, we're tired, Black Lives Matter, justice for UWA, and so on and so forth. This is my stand now. These things have been repeating themselves. What is the next step? You protesting, you carrying your cardboard, you carrying your placard, it's a normal thing. It's a norm now. The question is, how do we move forward from here? I'm really not interested in discussing, what has happened. It has happened. How do we make sure that, it doesn't?
It has to do with legislative action.
Protesting. You keep talking about it because trust me, like there's no plan laid out to make it work, but you just gotta keep fighting it. Like,
yeah, but when you say
to answer if in all honesty, I understand what you're saying in terms of we're tired of the hashtags. But one thing I can say is this: I want us to know that in this generation, as my mom will always say, Indomie generation, we expect everything to be this
quick,
in the speed of light.
Yeah.
Why we can affect change. Listen, it doesn't matter what race, what color, what ethnicity, where you're from, where you live. If there's one thing that speaks to every oppressor worldwide, universally, is money. Now, where can we make a change? We need to support Black businesses. Yes, we need to do the hashtags. And the reason why I will say we need to do the hashtags and not get tired, I found that it's usually a pattern. Okay, we get riled up on day 1. Day 2, we're still a bit riled up. Day 3, it's someone's birthday. So yeah, happy birthday. Day 4, it's like, shit, it's Friday. Now I've got to get ready for work on Monday, which is why we end up in that loop. But just to throw it out there, even based on history, I'm sure everyone, well, if you're not aware of who Rosa Parks is, then I will question your level of enlightenment. But Rosa Parks, when she said no in that bus, that no was not heard immediately. It wasn't heard until 385 days later.
Right.
And what happened? What did they do differently apart from just saying no? They were willing to not take those buses They were willing to walk to their offices, walk the distances, put themselves through that hardship. 385 days later, these people are like, yo, these people are not giving us our coins. So now we have to hear them. So I understand that it's tiring. I understand that. I understand that some people are literally just doing it for clout. They really don't give they don't give they just want to be seen as, yes, we are saying something. But one thing I would say to this generation is we can't afford to get tired. That social media hashtag that might look like nothing, I promise you, it's getting in their faces. And the thing is, we're so uncomfortable talking to white people about this racism. Let's change the narrative. You're going to feel the heat. That's fine, but it's about not backing down. Spend your money where your money is going to be appreciated. An example I always use, I love using when it comes to Black people, is our natural hair as women. We were shamed for this hair for so many years. These people sold products to us claiming they were for Black hair, the likes of Dark and Lovely, all of those things. When they realized that we started looking into the ingredients of these things, we realized that these people are just selling petroleum oil to us, and it's actually of no benefit to our hair. What then happened? People started doing at-home remedies. Now, because we've taken our money out of their stores, nobody's buying their products. All of a sudden, all these hair products started rebranding. They knew that, okay, these people are actually paying attention to what we're putting into their products. They know they'd rather do their made at home ones. So now we have to sell what they're making at home so that they can come and buy from us again. If you're in the States, if you're in Europe, if you're at home, support Black businesses. I say it over and over again. That plantain that is $3 for $1 at your regular grocery store. If Mrs. Ajala is selling it $1 for $1, go and buy from Mrs. Ajala. Because what will happen eventually is the more money you put into those businesses, then they're able to drop the prices. There's a systemic racism. They're hell-bent on keeping us down there, which is why the Black Lives Matter is so difficult for them to hear. That's why when we say white privilege, what they're hearing is we're saying their life is not difficult.
Can I?
No, that's not what we're saying.
Can I say something? Because I can, if you leave there, you will continue to go.
Yeah, but let's address.
If you allow me,
Let's address.
Yes, we feel like African American.
Let's push that.
I would address that in what I have to say. I agree with Whitney with what she said, because I've actually I've had this discussion at work with my African American co-workers. Like, this lady was supposed to be my team lead in my former company. My new company is good. Don't look at that. So in my former company that I was working at, and this lady was she's African American, but she was just out for us Nigerians in particular. And I had to call her and sit her down, like, okay, what's going on? Like, come on. Like, it is so obvious that you're like against us Nigerians. I understand Nigerians have messed up.
No. I think we're talking more about privilege here. That do you?
No, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
And then she now opened up, and she was like, "You guys don't know what you're getting in America. Like, you guys just have everything. Like, you get all the scholarships. You get you come to America. You don't have any student loans. You come to study in America with scholarships. You have all the scholarships. We that are African Americans don't get all the scholarships. Blah 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 blah." I was like, wait. I was like, wait, hold up. Where did you get that information? Where did you get that data from? Like, we pay. Have you seen how much we pay for being international students? If you don't get the scholarship, you can't even afford to come study. If you can afford to come study, your parents must be rich. Now, who told you that we don't pay more than you guys pay? You guys are American citizens. You pay lesser than we pay. And I started showing our data. It was myself and another Nigerian guy. That guy was doing his master's there. I was like, what are you telling me? Blah, 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 blah. So we kept on talking about showing our data and stuff. Then she was like, no, but you guys always have it good. That you come to America, they give you scholarships. All the scholarships are supposed to give to us Americans, they give it to Africans because they feel you guys need it. I'm like, well, even before we get the scholarship, even though we're getting these scholarships, before we get it, Do you know how much SAT scores we have to get? Do you know how much we have to read to be able to qualify for these scholarships? And you guys get it because you're serious. I mean, it was just too much back and forth. But I also have another coworker that mentioned the same thing to me, that okay, what are we doing wrong as African Americans that you guys are doing right that makes you guys get all the jobs as immigrants? I'm like, I don't know, but I think focus is the biggest thing. I think you guys are focusing on the wrong thing. Don't focus on us. Focus on yourself. And that's one thing I'm going to say. That's I'm going to use to to enlighten most of us Africans, most of us African Americans, blacks. One thing that Bob Marley said in his word, in his songs, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And that's the number one thing that I would say that Americans or those who are racist against you are using against you. Mental slavery. You are all yeah, they've broken the chains from off your ends, but you're so mentally enslaved that you don't even you're not smart enough to know how to free yourself. Like I like what you said, Diola, about supporting black businesses. You gotta enlighten yourself. Like, okay, how do I support black business? Even the black businesses that we're supporting too, you gotta find a way to learn new ways to attract customers. Like read, grow, find ways that white people, I'm sorry to use that word, are doing stuff. Read, study them, study
But
their
you
the
see,
business
so
learn.
therein lies what I always explain to people is systemic oppression, because we
Yeah,
always have to fight twice as hard. We always have to fight. So when we're talking about white privilege, I'm not sorry, it really does exist. And in
it does.
terms of people, to answer Whitney's question, obviously I can't answer from the United States point of view, but in the UK, whatever privilege they think you are getting as an African, I always want
Wow.
you to remind them that that's the 1% of the 1%. Because you might see that, oh yeah, in my environment, 10 Nigerians, but when you look at the ratio of those 10, for every 10 Nigerian that is in a position of power, that is in a good job, that is in a top level job, how many other races are in that position? And sometimes all they're really doing is ticking a box. We call them tokens over here. You have your token black person. That's why their default saying is, oh, I'm not racist, I'm black. I have a black friend. I'm not racist, I have a black neighbor. Because they feel that by having that one singular black person in your corner, that means you can't possibly be racist. There's something that I hear quite a lot over here, that initially when I used to hear it, I was like, But people say black people cannot be racist, and I will stand behind that now. Again, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I will stand behind that yes, black people can be prejudiced. We can be prejudiced, but we cannot be racist, because to be racist, you have to be in a position of power where your power and your influence can tie down and suppress and oppress people of another race. Black people don't have that power, not in the United States, not in the United Kingdom. So I stand by that day in, day out. Again, educate yourself, inform yourself. There's a lot of misinformation out there. If you're only relying on the media for your facts, then sorry to you.
Exactly.
Educate
A lot
yourself,
of people
enlighten yourself.
that fight, that are protesting, you gotta learn how to learn. And like mental slavery, like systematic slavery, that's what's going on right now. Like invest in black businesses, invest in yourself, set yourself free, like get everything you need to get the job you want to get. That's how I think it's gonna move on. Like it's another level of when you get to the millions too. It's another level of racism on that. When you start making the millions, when you start getting to um a tax bracket too. It's another level of racism around that too. And I
Yeah,
know what
of
I'm
course.
saying about that.
Of
So
And
it's
another way, sorry, I think to answer one of Ife's earlier questions, another way we can change the narrative. Initially, like, so you see all these tweets going around, and then you get people finding out that person's information, reporting to their prospective colleges, university. At first, I'm not even gonna lie, at first I was like, wow, that's a bit extreme, like, how are you getting their university involved? But when I dug a bit deeper, this is where it's a vicious cycle. And yes, if I find out you are racist, I will get your information. I will report you to your school authorities. And the reason why, again, this is important, it might not be important now, but the same way we see medical racism, because it's a thing. Even general practitioners over here in the UK have said that for a very long time, they didn't believe that Black women, they didn't believe that their pain was real. Now, if you don't nip it at the bud, if you don't nip it at the bud, these are the same racist college student that you're like, oh, they're only 16, they're only 17, they're young and dumb. They will grow up with that privilege, get into that medical field. And what happens when they are doctors who are in charge of your health? They will make sure you die. What happens when they are within housing and they get into that housing sector and they're at the top? They'll make sure you don't get a home. So yes, we need to now. If there's ever a generation that can change this, I really do believe it's now. And we
Yeah, just to buttress your point too, is really, really now. There was something I found out late last year about, I don't know, I guess it's right though, about the healthcare sector in America, that's another form of, there's another form of racism in that aspect as well, where they don't treat Black women like they treat white women. Like they discharge them. If you go to a hospital with a particular pain or something, they can send you home with a pain of, there's a level of pain from, they will ask you 1 to 10. They can send a Black woman home with a level of pain of 8 and just give you like 2 pills that will last you for 2 days. But the white person on the other hand, they will take care of them till they are really, really feeling good and let them go home. So that's another level of
medical
racism.
is real.
Like you said about kids growing up and becoming doctors and they just, at their job, they just do it. It's just tough. It's just like you're always fighting something. You think you're in a good neighborhood, you bought a house in a good neighborhood, and even your white neighbors are looking at you, how did he make it? What is he doing here? You start working in the company, they start looking at you like, it's just so much. My own worry is also when amidst our own Black folks, where, like you said, there's prejudice. Like you would see a fellow Black guy and you can't unite, and you feel like, oh, because they're Africans, we have a privilege over you. I understand. It's true. It happens. Like I just saw a comment from Sister Bukola saying that Professor Bolaji Akiyemi talked about his experience of this in an interview last week. He was stopped by the police when they heard his accent as an African. They became friendly. Can you imagine? They stopped you and they. I mean, sometimes we get away with something. We get away with something.
I agree with that. I think there's a little bit more respect for Africans, but I don't think that we're privileged in any sense of the word, because when we leave the office, when we leave those environments that keep us privileged, that is where the aggression starts to become a little bit louder. You know, like we don't recognize that there are microaggressions in these places because we're just focused on the money. We're just focused on making the money. We want to send the money back home. Like America is this like mint, this money mint to us because we know we're going to escape back home. So that idea of even having a racist environment is just not in our minds. We're not conditioned. Right. You know, I think here, if you're born here and you've seen your grandparents struggle, you've seen your parents struggle, you have a sense and an awareness of the microaggressions that you face every single day. So we don't have that. I don't think that Africans, we have that built into us, right? Because we're just focused on making money. Let's be honest. We're focused on making money. We want to go home and build our houses. We want to go and retire in Abuja or Lagos or whatever. We don't care. We don't really care for those things. But I think to your point, when those things happen to us and when we get into situations where we are faced with police officers and stuff, we also don't know how to react. I'm pretty sure some of us didn't even know our rights. We didn't know our rights. We didn't know we had to request a warrant. We didn't know that, you know, we had to ask the police officer for their IDs and their cards. We didn't know any of these things.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the privilege is really set in. It's like there's a duality, because we have privilege because we don't know, but in the same sense, are we really privileged that we don't know? You know, is that really something that we can say yes, it is a privilege for us individually, because at the end of the day, they'll still treat you as a Black person as soon as you do something wrong.
That's a point.
Yeah.
They say
Let
they're
me.
black.
Exactly.
They don't
Yeah. So
care.
let me read a few comments. Let me scroll a little bit to the top because we have stuff backed up. So Twinnies, she said we want to support Black.
That's Taiwo.
Okay, so Taiwo said we want to support Black, but the attitude
I wanna
and lack
address
of
that.
customer
Yeah.
service. Let me keep on reading. Whitney said, "These are just excuses. People come to America with nothing, but Ghana must go back." I guess we're talking about the African privileges. Taiwo was agreeing with Shukbo. I think Taiwo was still pushing her point about the poor customer service. Most are rude and have this "I don't care" attitude. Wale Oye said exactly. There's a difference between racism and prejudice. I guess that's supporting. I think Diola. I guess yeah. And Williams said, "What do you feel about people coming back home to start up something or coming to government?" Taiwo said, "I think Esosa is okay. You're trying to say something." Whitney said, "Good perspective, Esosa." And Wale also said, great contribution, Esosa. Esosa, you said you wanted to say something about the customer service?
Yeah, I did. If this car would stop honking
I
in
was
my
about to say
neighborhood.
something.
I want to say that, okay, so I had this conversation with my parents the other day because they did not they say they don't identify with Black America. Right? I'm telling you, they think that they're not, and they're naturalized citizens. They have their citizenship, and for some reason they don't, because they feel like they are greeted with hostility everywhere they go. Or if they are working with Black people in their workplaces, or if they go to a restaurant, they're greeted with hostility. But in some of these cases, yes, it's true. I mean, it happens. I'm sure it happens in the UK, and I know for a fact it happens here in the States. But we must understand that this hostility is the same hostility that they have for the white man, right? And we turn a blind eye to their struggle because we are greeted with this stuff. So imagine if racism is the daily theme in your life on a daily basis. You would be hostile. You would have that same type of.
It's the system. The system has messed up with their mental.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think also we don't address these mental issues and the mental impact of racism, as a whole generation. We don't address those things. So when we see those things, we're just like, we can't support these people because they are not like us, or we have this like elitist response to them. And it's like, no, they're the same people. It's just they've been dealing with this longer than we had. We came here at the age of 10, age of 13, maybe some of us age of 20, Again, like I said previously, they were born right into this. So again, I don't think it's hostility against us per se, but when you see somebody that's different than you, and maybe even somebody that's just like you, but being treated differently, because maybe they have a better education, maybe they came from a better place, then of course you'd be hostile. But I don't think that hostility is against the color of your skin, like Adeola said. I think it's because you're just in a racist system.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
What I was even going to add to that.
Go ahead, Diola.
Sorry, what I was going to add to that in terms, because I'm very big on pushing Black businesses. What I'm going to say is this: I'm not quite sure how it is in the US, but in the UK as well, you have Asian stores. They're hostile to you also, but you still go there and you still spend your money. There are two ways we can address this issue about Black businesses and their poor customer service. One, we need to identify where they're coming from. We know how Nigerians are back home in Nigeria. That is the same mentality that they've come to United States with. I know quite a few business holders in the UK. As one of them, I visit every Saturday, and they had an ongoing issue in the market where they're selling. These are Black people who are selling yam. The main thing that they sell is herbal tea. And then they then introduced yam, plantain, Scotch bonnet, and they were met with some serious hostility by the Asians in that market, just because now our people are buying from them. Now, one day we got there, listen, the look on their faces, they really looked like they were beaten down, downtrodden, everything. And it was only when they started telling us the challenges that they are facing in the market that we were like, what can we do? What can we do to help? What position do we need to sign? Who do we need to email? Who do we need to write to? So another way we can do is just educate them and also acknowledge when service is good. Because when you're a customer, again, we've been conditioned to believe that, you know, the customer is always right. If you go somewhere, if you go to a Black business and their customer service is great, acknowledge it, let them know that, oh, it's really nice that I came in and you gave me a smile, so that on another day when you go there and they're not smiling, you just have to educate them. Honestly,
yeah, we have to take
I'm not even joking. You don't understand. We have to take responsibility.
Absolutely.
There's no external race that is going to build up our community if we don't.
I'm with Wale on
If
this
you know
one.
these business owners personally, copy to them. It doesn't have to be on that day.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm with Wale on this one.
What did you say?
Customer service in the Black community is a topic for another day. Because trust me, that's a topic for another day.
It really is a topic for
also not as patient.
It really is a topic for
We are not patient for our Black businesses. We are not. Let's be honest, because we know we already see.
Yes.
I'm sorry to say, but we agree with white supremacy when it comes to business. We'd rather go for white businesses because we think that they're somehow like better. You know, it's like, oh, a white man. Okay, for example, I just came back from Abuja, and my cousin was like, "Hey, Dad, do I know of a white man that they can put on the flyer for a company that they are running in Abuja?" I said, "Why do I need to add a white man to a flyer? And just so that they can accept." You know,
that's the mental slavery that I talked about earlier.
These places, and then we are demanding the same type of customer service. That I'm not saying that we cannot have better customer service, but in our level of patience, I think is lesser. If we go to a Nigerian restaurant and we are waiting 10 minutes, we are already tapping our foot on the floor. So you know what I'm trying to say? Like, let's be honest about it. We are way more patient with white people. We just are. And that's a conditioning that, again, the mental slavery we have to get rid of.
It's a slavery. See, I don't want us to keep talking about customer service and all this. Let's focus on the topic. Why are we protesting? What's going to change? And for me, let's
bring the narrative home. I think we've spoken about what we're challenging abroad. We can't forget back home as well. So let's speak about the challenges that Nigerians are facing.
That's what I'm trying to get to now. That there's no way we can be free if we don't set us. We can move forward. There's no way you can move forward or start seeing changes until you start reading more, until you start expanding your mind as Black people, even as Africans, even as Nigerians. There's no way we will get out of this that we are in except we start expanding our mind and expanding our knowledge and free ourselves from this mental slavery that we have been put on. Like, the system is set up to mess you up. The system is set up to mess up, like kind of like the Black. I'm sorry to say that, but us Black, system is set up to mess you up. So you got to learn how to understand the system and unlearn the things that they have put on you to hold you down. You're setting up businesses and you don't know about customer service, and you want to blame it on the white person. You're setting up, you're shouting now back at home. We're shouting police brutality. But what has been set in place to make sure that police doesn't do what they do back in Nigeria? Also, if we go back to the system, if we take it back now to Nigeria, now that we're fighting rape, we're fighting what's the hashtag for that now? We are tired. For rape. If you really dig down into these stupid guys that are perpetrating this heinous act, it is because of their mental background. It's an orientation from the start. They've been told that if you don't force a woman, then you can. That's not love language. They watch what's this movie? You watch what's this movie? 50 Shades of Grey, and you think smacking is the same thing. You think raping is the same thing. No, you are being stupid. You don't really understand what you're watching. So you get we as Black people or Nigerians or Africans, we look at the surface of things. I remember when I started learning how to browse internet back then in Nigeria, and someone was telling me then, I didn't get it until later on. It was like, you people you know how to use Yahoo Messenger, MSN Messenger, AOL Messenger back then, and you think, you are now good, you can browse. You need to learn how this thing is happening. I'm like, what's this guy talking about? I'm like, I can chat with 3 people or endlessly. What is what talking? I'm a guru. Like, no, you need to learn how this thing works. Then that's when you know what you're doing. Then later on, after I figured out what is this guy trying to talk about? Then I found out that it was just trying to talk about programming. You need to learn how to program. You need to learn how to do. But no, us Africans, we know the surface of things and we start bragging about it. But you don't know the deep root cause of something and really know how to use the stuff. You learn like the old stuff we're going through in Africa now. Adults that have been molesting kids in days back, and they just feel it's natural. But no, think about it. Think about it yourself. Why would you see a young woman and feel like it's right for you to want to rape her and you brag about it? Like the video of some guy that I saw that was bragging about doing something to a 12-year-old. Like Africans, we're so surface. We don't go deep. We just deal.
I don't. The thing is, I don't think it's so much about surface. Again, like you said, you've mentioned education. Not everybody will have the same access to the level of information that you will have, which is why I love the point that you made about educating yourself. But beyond educating yourself, we have to stop doing that. There's one thing I really love about the Asian community is that when one person does that, they do that. Those 2 people then do that. They share that knowledge. We need to stop, because Nigerians, like we continuously say, Nigerians are highly educated. We are. But I feel like where we lack that power, where we misuse our control, is we don't then branch out to then educate people around us. It's the same thing as I've noticed that a lot of white people have been speaking during the Black Lives Matter, and honestly, some of them have their unconscious biases that they've grown up to understand. I will relate that back to a lot of men in Nigeria. They have that male superiority complex. The male is superior, and that has gone through years and years and years of being told these things. In terms of rape, another thing that I noticed back home is that the only type of rape that Nigerian men and a lot of Nigerian women are able to comprehend is when it is at that brutal end. When it's at that brutal end. I mean, you even have people saying, she was 15, she came on to me, she wanted it. That is what, again, a lot of people are not educated that a minor cannot give consent. So I feel like we need to start educating. We need to have a lot of our generation, sorry to say, but also have so many superficial friends. We have friends we can drink with, we have friends we can club with, we have friends we can party with, but you don't have friends you can have honest conversations with. You don't have friends who educate you. You don't have friends who can show you money opportunities. Why is that? And people can say change your circle as much as you want, but if you have 100 people and you are the only one that is knowledgeable, if you keep rotating your circle, you will still circle back onto yourself. So as much as you're trying to get that education, I would also say educate those around you. A lot of people don't understand about consent, both male and female. A lot of people are so oblivious to consent. And there was a video I watched, it was Trevor Noah on the Breakfast Club. I have a hidden obsession with Trevor Noah, so I watch every single thing he does. But there was a way he broke it down. There was a way he broke it down in terms of if you're in the UK or in the US. Once upon a time, drinking and driving was a thing. Drinking and driving, it wasn't really an offense until it got to that point where they said, no, don't drink and don't drive. And they pushed that message so strongly to the point that, because initially the argument was, well, if I can handle 2 drinks, why would you tell me that I should only drink 1 drink? Now we're all at the point where we've been sensitized to the point that we know that, listen, if I'm going out, I think twice about it. Like, if I want to drink, let me leave my car at home.
Yeah.
Even your friends around you, when you're out and about, even when your friend knows you're driving, they're like, just calm down, or you're driving. So I feel like that's the level where we need to get to back in Nigeria. There are so many heartbreaking stories that I saw during the week. But it's mind blowing that we've come through years and years, and these things are still happening. And the only thing that I feel
talking about
people to justice is accountability.
Talking about
nobody's held accountable.
Your friends matters a lot, man. Like it's true. That's what we need to change. We need to change. We need to think for yourself, number one, and then number two, try to consider what your friends are telling you. Like one thing my mom always tells us when we were younger, then Like, if your friend says you should jump into the fire, will you jump in the fire? That statement is the same. I always keep it to me that, okay, if my friend says I should do this, should I do it? Is it right? Always ask yourself twice, like, should I do this? Is it right? Like, I remember when we back then, when we giving gist that, this girl came to see me, I hung out with her, and but if you now tell your guy friends that, oh, she was at my place, we hung out, but nothing happened, they would so, like, the word there, they would yab you like, you be on there, say, you didn't do anything, like, come on, you be fucking guy, you be this, blah blah blah, they'll yab you. So to get away from that, we're like, okay, what do you do? Then they'll not be giving you different advice. I won't lie, I know I've heard different advice from guys. I'm like, is this right? They'll be like, you just do this, you do that. The things they were saying were normal to them. They'll be telling you to do some, they'll be like, so it's just like that, and she will agree. They're like, hey, now the girl, she don't go on tell you, because the girl doesn't, she don't go on tell you. Now you go initiate that. But while you initiating it, you could be harassing the poor lady, but just so that she doesn't feel somehow, she would just
Well, that's the thing. Let me ask this. I'm not really sure about where you are in terms of your background in Nigeria and how long you were in Nigeria from. But also, when we were in Nigeria, I know that growing up in my days, because again, it's that narrative of, oh, if you're a girl and you give it up straight away, then you're a hoe.
Right.
So I feel like even as women, we have our responsibilities. Listen, let your yes be yes. Don't be from. If you know that you don't want to appear cheap in the first instance, go with somebody who will not look at you for being cheap. Go with that person who understands women liberation. Don't go for that one that is prude. Go to that one that, yes, you hook up on the first night and you are both hoes together, or that's how you want to live your life. So I'm not sure, when you were growing up, what kind of things did you hear as a woman in terms, because I was taught that you must say no, even when you mean yes.
Really mean yes,
what's
right?
your experience?
Right, and I completely agree with that. I think because we are a censored, I think growing up in Nigerian environment, just growing up in Lagos for a bit, there's a censorship about the female body and censorship about what it means to have female desire or have anything that has to do with sex as a female. For females in Nigeria, for women in Nigeria, sex is not something that is a right. It is something that you give as a right to other people. So that's how you carry yourself, right? You don't carry yourself as somebody who is a quote unquote sexualized being. So what happens is that our environment will now over sexualize us because we have been censoring ourselves for so long, and that's why there's so many rape cases that are actually being allowed, because when you don't want something, you have it. When you don't see something a lot, you have it. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's the way we are conditioned to think that that our sexuality is this prize to be won. So even if we want to give it out, we feel almost guilty for doing so. Our culture makes us feel, I don't say our culture, but I guess what we have been taught, or what we have has been passed down from our grandmothers, from our great grandmothers, is that, save yourself for your husband, and you just have to just be this pure person, before you enter before you get married. So I think that is also a big contributing factor that plays a role in why we do not make these rape cases why we don't take these cases so seriously, right? Because at the end of the day, we end up blaming the woman. Okay, what did she do to sexualize herself, right? What narrative was she giving to the man? So I think it's up to us, I think, as we are raising children, as we are being aunties, as we are being mothers, that we have to really have this honest dialogue about how to be a sexual being, right, in society, without, of course, like corrupting our morals and our values and stuff like that. But let's be honest, our parents don't talk to us about these things, right? They don't empower us. Instead, they censor us. So then when things happen like rape, when things happen against us, we don't even feel like we have the right to speak out. So that's what I think. There needs to be a lot more training and retraining of women and even parents, saying, okay, we understand that you will be a sexual being at a point, but this is how you go about it. Here in the States, parents do that a lot now. There's, they train their kids. They have the quote unquote, the sex talk with their kids here. They don't have that back home in Nigeria. I think there's still a very big gap.
If you have sex, if a boy touches you, you get pregnant.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes. And
Yeah.
which is so counterproductive, because that was what my mom told me too. And when I realized that if boy touched me, I'm not pregnant, then boy can continue touching me. So
Yeah, there are comments. Yeah, so let me read a few comments here before we move along.
Yeah.
Wale, you said some people are just naturally possessed and mad. Because why would a man defile a 2-year-old girl? Is that not being possessed by the devil? And Whitney agreed with Wale. She said, Wale, well said.
Yeah.
Taiwo said, rape in Nigeria is a mental case. She also said they don't believe in a husband raping his wife. They will be like, how can your husband rape you? He's your husband. And the stigmatization around it stops victim from coming forward. She also said, because people are so concerned about what the victim was wearing when she got raped, like, what does it matter? Then Wale also said, I think it is all down to a man. When a lady says no, just accept it and move on, even if she's joking or not. Let me just add to what Wale said. And I believe I've said this a lot of times to Shupo.
I'm going to talk about that, what Wale said too, man.
Yes. At this point, as much as Esosa and Diola have, you people have drawn the line to say, as ladies, let your yes be yes and no be no. Don't be forming an XYZ. Even as a guy, if she says no, even if she's joking, let her go. And like I always say, it is better for her to tell her friends that you are a fake G, you can't read this thing. It's better for her to say that than for you to wake up one morning and they're dragging you on Twitter. You're a rapist. You're this. It's better to be called a fake G. Let her be joking and you let her go than you waking up and you understand. If she says no, and I think it still circles back to reorientation of the mind. We need to do a lot of that, even for the male gender. Because they are taking a girl out doesn't mean you have to sleep with her. Because you're spending money, because it doesn't give you the right. Because you see guys who say, after what I've spent, I took you to club, I pop champagne, I will not eat. It's
true. It's painful for guys to think that, I've spent all this money, I go get.
Entitlement, that's what it is.
Entitlement mentality.
Watch our entitlement episode. We covered this. Watch our entitlement.
I think that's the reorientation. And I think as parents, I'm not going to fault the parents of the past, but as our generation is growing, that's something we need to instill in our kids. Don't say because you have a male child, he should sit down in the parlor when the female child is working in the kitchen, making him feel, going back to what Diola said, superior. Like, okay, fine, I can do this. I shouldn't do that. I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to that. So I think that's something we need to start educating, the younger generation. There's nothing wrong with a male kid helping in the kitchen. There is nothing wrong in training your daughter how to pump her gas or how to change her tires. Everyone should know all these things. You shouldn't break it down like, okay, you know what? Because you are the male kid, you train him to know that, okay, he should just hustle for his family and not do other domestic stuff. So that is why a lot of men grow up and believe, after I finish hustling as a husband and I want to sleep with my wife, even if she says no, it is my right. So I cannot rape my wife. So a lot of reorientation needs to be done.
Definitely.
Talking about reorientation, I'd like to chip this in and just probably use this to round up for my own. Talking about orientation, one thing for guys, I think we guys need to learn how to educate ourselves amongst ourselves when we're talking as boys. Like, guys, try to talk to ourselves and be like, advise them. If a guy tells you that, I took this guy on a date, blah blah blah, and nothing happened, she just gave me a peck, don't stalk him down. Don't say that, he's you be or the guy, if you initiate sex. No, it's not. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean we need to start re-educating ourselves as guys. That it doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that she used you and just chopped your money and left. If you are that's what I always tell my guys, and I tell girls, if he's a rich guy, if he has enough money, he won't be bothered about all that. He should be able to spend on you and not get anything back in return. Yes, if you are not rich enough to carry a girl out and not get anything,
Stay your house at home.
Exactly, don't take her out. If the money you have it's like she's not. Well, I don't know. She's not. You're not paying for sex now, so you can't expect.
Yeah.
Can't expect that in return.
I
so
think
let me just.
honestly.
Okay, go ahead, Diola. There are a few comments we need to read, but go
Okay,
ahead.
while you're looking at the, I was just gonna say that it still doubles back to Shup's point about just educating, getting everyone's mind in the right mind, state of mind. There was a tweet I saw from American Twitter earlier, in the day or yesterday, I think, and someone had tweeted something about, no woman is asexual with you when she's drunk or something like that. And the comments I saw from American Twitter, I was actually glad in my heart that one day Twitter Nigeria will get to this stage, because the men in the comments were like, it's a trap, don't fall for it. If she's drunk, she can't consent. And I can tell you, about a decade ago, these people were not of the same.
Just leave her.
That's a trap. But it was the men in the comments. The men in the comments were like, no, if she's drunk, she can't consent. Don't fall for that trap. And I was really like, please, that okay, at least the male gender somewhere in the world actually understands the issue of consent. But this issue of consent in Nigeria, to me, but the thing is, people are being held accountable. People have watched boys go to jail all because they took someone who was drunk home, and now they're doing serious time. So I feel like back home, because nobody is held accountable for anything across everything, police or teacher or thief or rapist, or nobody is held accountable. And the only thing that curbs these societal ills is not just being a better person. Sometimes I don't have money, I'll enter Tesco during my break. It's only the fear of shame and the fear of being caught that doesn't make me steal. It's not because I don't know how to steal. In fact, if I was a thief, I would be very successful. But that fear of being caught, or more, if it's apple I can afford in that moment, I'll just pick my apple and be going.
And go. Okay, so
just reading educate. But I'll let the read the comment.
Okay, so we have one from Sadiq. He said, but no, let me go up a little bit. Okay, no, Sadiq, yeah. He said, but as children, we should have been educated on all this before or during puberty. And it goes back to what Susa said, like African parents, Nigerian parents, we hardly have that talk with kids. Wale said, but that entitlement can land a man in jail if he's not careful. I guess that's buttressing what I said. Taiwo said kids need to be taught about personal space, privacy, and consent. Wale said, Wale said exactly, Shukbo. It is not that deep. I guess that's about if you don't have money, sit your ass at home. Don't try and use it as exchange for sex. And Taiwo agreed with Diola. Whitney had a question for Esosa. She said, because of things happening, I've heard this happen to people. I am terrified to let my daughters around other people. How do I draw the line between educating and overprotecting?
Well, I think first you have to deal with your own fear. Before you can even say, let me educate my kid, you have to deal with your own fear first. You have to accept that this is a globalized world. Even if you're going to hold your kid back, which it will now be at a detriment to your kid, your child is going to be exposed if you send them to school. They'll be around other children. At some point, they'll see social media, so you can't avoid it. So I think you have to commit first to getting over your fear and treating your kid as not just a child, but as a future adult, right? As a future citizen of the world. So, and somebody that will contribute to society. So they have to be able to have all the tools that they need, right? So I think that you have to practically train your child in how to say no and how to give consent, when to seek help, and also to create an avenue a communication channel between you and your child. I think that's again something in our culture that we don't have. Mommy, somebody did this to me. I cannot go and say it. I cannot open my mouth and talk to my mother and say, Mommy, this is what happened to me. We instill fear in our kids, in our
that's the biggest problem in Africa. And that's why it's continuing.
Absolutely.
And all that thing is continuing because a lot of kids have been molested, but they can't tell their parents because they're scared of their parents. You can't open up to your parents.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like, and some of us will feel like, oh, we are going to lose our culture or whatever. And it's like, no, it's okay to keep your culture, but you also need to adjust to this new type of system that your children are in. Because even for us now, I'm pretty sure we're all millennials here or something, right?
No, me, I'm not.
Okay, some of us are not millennials. Okay, millennials.
We are all millennials.
Let me
millennials.
Right. Millennials, right?
So this Gen Z
We are millennials.
This is Gen Z that
No, you are a millennial. Are you 40? Are you 40 plus?
Nobody that
you're millennial now.
We are early millennials. Right? We are early millennials, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to be funny. I'm just trying to be funny. Don't
What's
mind
the
me.
generation that is coming up? They're exposed to our world, but the issues and problems that they're going to face are going to be completely different. So we have to understand that we have to keep shifting, we have to keep changing, we have to keep molding our training structure while also integrating our culture. Like here in the States, like you find a lot of Igbo families, they'll still be training their kids in Igbo. They'll still be teaching the Igbo language to their kids, right? But you can see some dads and some moms, the way that they train and their approach to teaching their kids is completely different from their moms and their grandparents. So again, we have to keep an open mind. You have to get over your fear before you even think about even trying to, put change or create change in your child's life. So that's what I think.
Okay, so let me ask this. Black Lives Matter. Everyone is saying, what to do now is make sure you vote, put in the right people to represent your cause, and so on and so forth. That is a solution being provided for, blacks in America. But now, if we go back to Nigeria, what is the solution in terms of police brutality, rape? What needs to be done? Because let me digress a little bit. I believe I've shared this conversation with everyone, even when we spoke, that they're asking Tiwa Savage. She put hashtag "we're tired," and the guy was like, "Are you really tired?" Because 2013 we're doing Bring Back Our Girls with placard. 2020 we're still doing that. We're doing the social media hashtag. Fine, like Deola said, it goes to a certain way, but in terms of human rights violation in Nigeria as a whole, now what is the solution? What needs to be done? What, as youths in Nigeria, what do we have to do, home and abroad? I think that's something we need to discuss, because if you notice, we keep discussing these things that are happening. This is happening, but what is the solution? What is our own little part to make sure that these things don't repeat themselves? Everyone is quiet.
I don't know, Nigeria. No, I was going to say Nigeria, unfortunately for me, you guys know I'm not all that religious, but I do believe that a house that is built on a weak and shaky foundation is always set up to be flawed. The main issue that we have in Nigeria is that the foundation is so shaky. The solution for that, I guess, it's only suggestions in terms of, I remember you mentioned about Tiwa Savage and the hashtag. Now, where I have my own issues is, how can you be in a position of power and you're still holding up these placards? I don't have access to law changes. The most that I can do, honestly, is I can lend my voice. I can do the social media hashtags. Now, the point of the social media hashtags is so that they can land on the table of people that can make a change. I shared it with Shubs and Ife during the week. Why should I see Tinubu holding up a sheet of paper? Why? This is one of the most influential men in Lagos, and he's holding up a sheet of paper. That's our job. That's what we are meant to do. That's what we can do, because we don't have access to these law changes. If you're in a position where you can actually effect a change, you need to have those conversations. But I find it's sad, but it's true. But I find that a lot of people, their own is just that when I get there, let me eat my own too. So until people are held accountable in Nigeria, I really don't understand how there's going to be a change. and it
And that's
really
our
does
biggest,
break my
that's our
heart.
biggest problem in Nigeria.
Get too
Accountability.
comfortable.
It really does break my heart. It really
Okay.
does, because
Nobody's else.
what more can you do?
Yeah,
Okay, so
nobody's
before
else accountable in
Shukwa,
Nigeria. That's our biggest problem.
before Shukwa and Esosa address that question, let me just read this comment. Wale said exactly, Esosa. It starts from the parents. Whitney said, "Thank you, Esosa, for your response." Omolara Oyekunle said, "I agree with Shoops, especially if it's a family relation that abused the child. It is unheard of, and the parents will shut the child up, which many parents do. Like, don't let people know that Uncle this touched you, and so on and so forth." Wale said, in regards to police brutality in Nigeria, any guilty police officer should be held accountable with severe punishment and also orientation. It is never too late to reorientate people. Omalara Yekunle also said, Nigeria is a difficult society. People get away with a lot of things. I agree with Diola. So now with Esosa, what, you can address that question. What is the way forward for Nigeria?
Wow, this is a loaded question because there are so many there are so many ways forward, right? And the thing is, if I say government, it's like I'm very radicalized towards the Nigerian government, right? If we look at the case of Ghana, if we look at the case of Liberia, there are some radical things that those countries have done to really put their foot down. And unless politicians stop funding or stop giving these officers, empowering these officers with money, then there's nothing that can be done, right? We can book an officer tomorrow. We can give an officer, I don't know, 300, 400K and tell them to follow us around and shoot all the people that we want them to shoot. We are empowering these officers to be brutal because they feel like they have that right. Like, I haven't lived in Nigeria for a while, but even when being in Nigeria on and off, I've seen that type of empowerment. They have the right to stop traffic anytime. So it starts from the head, because if the head is rotten, everything else is rotten. So get rid of all these big quote unquote military big shots, right? Retrain all their subordinates, and then create an ethical and moral, and I don't know how this is going to work for our country, but create an ethical and moral compass for revitalizing and educating the system. And then I think that's where it starts. It starts with the mentality. Here in America, people are willing to die for America. In Nigeria, nobody is willing to die for Nigeria. And that's where it comes. That's what it boils down to.
But again, we have a systemic oppression in place in Nigeria, which is quite hard to fight, because in as much as I love Nigeria, and in as much as I can say I'm brave, the reason why Nigerians are not willing to die for Nigeria is because, God forbid, your death will be in vain. Americans know that, okay, listen, if I die fighting this cause, 10 people will stand up behind me. If those 10 people die, 20 people will stand up behind them. We don't have that in Nigeria because, again, nobody is being held accountable for anything. Like, even anything.
Systemic oppression is the number one thing in Nigeria. If you are not rich in Nigeria, you don't have a voice. If you are not
at the head of the
you don't have a voice.
That's the thing. You have to go after the heads of these systems that are put in place.
Like you said, if you're trying to be like them, Ghana and all that, to have a revolution. I'm sorry to say that's the only thing that can save us in Nigeria. Somebody said that. Can you just gather all the leaders in the stadium and blow up the stadium?
Honestly. Yeah, but it's true. Until the leaders start feeling, I can't remember what country it was, but there was one particular country where this particular politician's tenure had expired. When the president of that nation found out that person embezzled, apparently they left a suicide note saying, I would rather commit suicide than face the whole wrath of the law under this regime. So until we get to that point where, like I said, it's just human nature. The only thing that stops me from running a red light in the UK than running a red light in in Lagos is that I know I will lose points off of my license.
Right.
I know
See,
that my car can be taken away from me. It's not that I'm the law-abiding citizen, but you need those accountability.
Wale just said the same thing that I'm trying to say. Until we address accountability in Nigeria, we're going to be stagnant, and that's it. Like Nigeria is so messed up that corruption is they just give you a pat on the back. Look at the governor. What's his name? Is he who did the senator? Orji Kalu. He was arrested and he was still getting his salary. He got released from jail and
allowance.
Wow.
And so it's just like we're not accountable in Nigeria. They don't punish you to the full extent of the law in Nigeria. So is there even any law in Nigeria? Even if there's a law, if you see people fighting for the law, they would die for fighting for the law.
Yeah,
what's
but
his name? Gani Fawemi. They killed Gani Fawemi till today. The thing that he has been fighting for, he will still fighting. He will still have the same issues. We have people that are coming out to fight, and they will die and just die.
Yeah, but doesn't this circle back to when it's time for election? We know this person is a thief. You know that he's just going to give you rice for the period of election.
People are hungry, but they will vote for that money. Anything. So
that means Nigeria is a lost cause if that's the case.
No.
Nigeria is
a young country.
Systemic oppression. It's systemic oppression. Right. Because we are talking about even if all the elite should be like, okay, we don't want your rights, we don't want. How about the people who are in abject poverty?
And they are more
literally their reality is hand mouth. That's their reality. So there's nothing about sensitizing them, and also because they are not even, at least we are seeing some level of what's happening in full scale. To them, it's like these people are there, they are our oppressors. It's the same thing that happened during slavery. They are our oppressors, even though we were more than them, but we were mentally oppressed, and that's I don't know how to break that down.
If you read the book, something laws of power, there's a law of power that if you and that's what they practice. Some governors actually practice it in Nigeria. I know a governor that practices that in Nigeria. And that's what he told, one of my buddies told me that's what he knows the governor, and that's what he practices. Like, you think it's normal for them not to pay salaries for staff? They won't pay you your salary because they're trying to oppress you. And then when it's almost time for election, they'll just boom, give you all your salary. Of course, your mind is messed up already. You're going to vote for them again. Maybe it's going to change in the next 4 years. And then you vote for them. And then the next 4 years, they come up with that same power and control. It's a power. They're controlling minds in Nigeria. So
just to buttress what Wale said in terms of accountability, I think even as individuals in general, like Diola said, there are many of us. You see celebrities out there, they have the numbers to few, senators, House of Rep members. But to call them and say, okay, you know what, even if you people are not going to pass this law, when you people are meeting in the house tomorrow, bring it up as a topic, discuss it. No, nobody is doing that. And like Diola said,
trust me, they will discuss it, but they won't make any change.
They don't want to make enemies.
Shupo, it is after the Senate has met, when they are outside of the door, that they will say, that my small girlfriend, see what she showed me on social media. They will not come, not when everybody is sitting down, they are not going to address it. Sure, you get. So there's a little bit of selfishness even as Nigerians, because when you're looking for government contract now, you know how to reach out to one uncle, one guy that has his uncle is this to submit your proposal, but you cannot reach out to that same connect and say, uncle, come, you people should discuss this thing. This is really spoiling, and we're not, we're all guilty of that. You get no one. We're okay. We just find the hashtags, but you know that you have a link to someone that you can even start that conversation with, even if they do nothing about it. Throw the conversation at them, like, hey, uncle, brother, this, sister, auntie, you people are representing us.
Nigeria issue. I think
I think that's why Mr. Jollof was also calling out Tiwa Savage, like, are you really tired? Because you have connects to all these people. When it's time for their wife's 40th birthday or 50th birthday, you have connect to them. Why don't you now reach out? So reach out and say this thing. So, like, just to buttress what Diola has also said, some people, this is not the time. We don't want you to do hashtags or carry placard.
Yeah.
You actually have to act as a
Yeah.
celebrity, as a public figure, where you know that you can pick up your phone. Some people are on auto dial. You should be calling to say, "Come, you guys need to do something about." Don't come and say, "Because I have 1 million followers, I'm doing a hashtag." No, don't.
They should go on a strike or something.
That is
We're
left
not
for
performing
us.
At your event, we're not doing this. Yeah, we need.
Yeah, that
is
is left for us. That is not for celebrities.
Not to. That guy is really doing a lot, and I pray for him. Let's protect Banky W.
Yeah, but come to think about it, like I just said, how many of his colleagues voted for him? They stay on the island. They stay in the district where he was running. How many of them voted for him?
We know corruption is that one now. We know they rigged that one now. You can't win. Well, you can win against. We know you can't win. Definitely, that one you can't win because of who was going against. But they need to do more. Like you said, they need to do more than
really.
Okay, so let me just.
I know we're all having a lovely time, but I was just going to say that if I could just read out the final comments.
Okay,
round up. Let's round up with that.
Yeah. Okay, so Omolara Oyekunle said most of the people being recruited into the force are serving for the wrong reasons. They are there for power and to enrich their pockets through dubious means. That is why they can shoot fellow humans. That is accurate about the police force. Wale also said, former Minister of Petroleum, Dezani, that stole over $7 billion, is now a commissioner in the Dominican Republic. Imagine that. She fled the country and she was granted citizenship in Dominican Republic. That is a whole topic on its own. We can sit here for 2 hours just trashing.
Like a whole topic.
Exactly. So Wale also said public figures need to start using that platform for betterment of the country, not just increase their bank accounts. And it goes back to what we were saying about celebrities. Whitney said, well said, Wale. Wale also said, actions speak louder than hashtags. And Whitney said, who hashtag help?
I think that's a good way to round up. Louder than hashtags. Let's stop all this.
But the message there from Shukran as well. Shukran said until then it's just vibes and inshallah. Inshallah we won't get shot. Inshallah we won't get raped. Inshallah we won't get killed. Like it's just vibes and inshallah. But just to give my rounding comments, I really liked Whitney's comments in terms of what we can do to better what was the question she directed at Esosa in terms of parenting. There's one skill that one tip that I've noticed that a lot of educators are pushing over here. It's like Esosa mentioned, it's very important to make sure that you have that communication channel between you and your child. Growing up, a lot of us really didn't have relationships with our parents, not like that. Like sometimes I think about how sad it is, how many traumatic experiences that I went through, or even some that were not even traumatic, even just being maybe bullied at school that I couldn't really speak to my mom about. And if I did end up speaking to her, even if she was going to take action, it was always action to the extreme, to the point where I was just like, I don't want to holler, let me just keep quiet. Then there's this thing where they do, where they teach you about teaching your children the difference between a secret that has an expiry date and a secret that should not be had. Because obviously, I mean, I might have my child and I might be planning a surprise party for my husband, for example, and they should be able to understand that, listen, any adult that is telling you this is a secret, you don't keep secrets. We don't keep secrets in this household. And if somebody tells you to keep a secret, that secret has to have an expiry date. So surprises are okay, but infinite secrets are not okay. I find that that's very helpful.
Not all surprises are okay. Don't let Uncle surprise you by touching you anyhow.
No, again, remember, our job is to open up your mind to other experiences. Please go out there and inform yourself and re-educate yourself. But it's just that in terms of that there really are no secrets. No uncle should be telling you if anybody ever finds out you will die. If anybody ever. So we just to let our children. And another thing that I found that was really helpful when I was doing some reading is actually addressing these private parts as private parts. Like, let your child know that this is a vagina. Let's stop pussyfooting around it like, oh, this is your lady's bit. Because when these abusers abuse these children, they know the right things to say. Like, now you have taught them that nobody should bring their tonana towards your tinini. So now if somebody puts penis inside their vagina,
You don't know what
they're not old enough to align those
Right.
two things to
Right.
mean the same thing. So let them know. Listen, you have breast, you have bum, you have vagina, and men have penises or whatever the gender is. So educate yourself. Let's educate those around us. Not everybody has the same level of access to information that we all do. Let's not be misinformed, and let's just pray that inshallah Nigeria will get better.
Yeah. And I will say finally, guys, too, please call out your other guys that are doing
Your
stupid
your
stuff.
homies, yeah, true.
Call them out, correct them. I remember when one thing that happened to me when I was kind of younger, and I went out with some big bros because me I like hanging out with big bros, and there was this girl, a young girl. She was giving my big bros a sign. I was like, getting like you go, what's up now? The alpha now, this girl likes you. And it told me something that still stuck with me till today. It was like, if I start early, I would give back to that girl. I can give back to that girl. That even if she wants me, I should be the one to know when to say no. And which is another thing that the most stupid Nigerians will say that she was coming at me. Yeah, a lot of young girls might come at you because they are young, have hormones. You should know how to control them and step back and just like, okay.
If Joseph in the Bible could flee, then
Exactly.
who are you not to also flee?
Don't just take them for don't take advantage of the young mind and feel like she came up to me. And it's true. If you want to shake another table, they send you for NYSC, you go train, you go teach in secondary schools. And yes, these secondary school girls, they love NYSC. They all use corporate. And then they'll start coming at you and you say, okay, let me start using them. Nah, man, you need to be in a better place, a better position. Like learn how to educate them or learn how to it's not every apple that falls from the tree that you have to eat. You have to know which one you want to eat. So please, guys, let's do better.
You can't drink from every cup without expecting to get poisoned at some point. So it's not everything that you must.
Yeah.
Any closing words from Ife, and then we'll go to Estosa, and that's pretty much it for today.
Yeah, I think I'll round up with this in terms of the human rights violation in Nigeria. Like Shiko said, I think we need to start telling ourselves the truth. If something is wrong, let's say it's wrong. If your guy is giving you juicy gist and it's not meeting up to your senses, then I think that is where you actually draw the line and say, guy, this is wrong, this is that, and so on. And on the flip side, I think the females also should know when to tell themselves the truth. If something is wrong, it is wrong. Let's not say because the juice is juicy, we just want to consume just listen and not call your friend to order and say that this is wrong. And for viewers watching, if you have connections to people who are policymakers, it starts with a conversation. We don't expect them to go to the house and change policies, but it starts with the conversation. If it's an uncle, if it's a friend's family member, that there is nothing wrong in starting that conversation. Even if they don't answer you, you've sown a seed. Sure, you get. They're not.
Hello.
Okay, I think if the internet has gone, it's usually me.
So we just get it.
Okay. So I just want to kind of, I guess, address the solidarity issue between the African community and the African American community, because we're still in this movement, and we need all the support we can get. And I think that this whole movement is a new dawn for the entire African generation. I think that we must accept that, number one, the media portrayal of Black America to Africa is in itself racism against us Africans. I think we must teach and encourage our parents, our leaders, our friends, our families to change their mindsets. And we must understand that African Americans or Black America is not a threat to Africans. They are a resource. And it's something to say when the Black man can keep striving to attain success in a white oppressive society, that they are a resource. And if I think that if we don't have strength, our strength means nothing if we are not wholly and mentally unified. So I think that just in thinking about this relationship, we should check our hearts, we should check our biases as we move forward for Black progress. So that means adding Black businesses, not just the African ones, to your spending habits, opening up your hearts and minds to listen to the pain of Black experience. They're not complaining, they're speaking about their experiences just like you would on African corruption and poverty. And also just do your research, read the books on Black history, read the books on corruption and poverty, and also consider hiring, for the Africans that are in the United States, consider hiring African Americans in your businesses as a means to educate and not criticize. And also, when you go to church and you pray and you're binding and casting for the demons from your family, we should equally intercede for the Black nation that is in America, because that's the only way we're really going to build solidarity. And this is how we extend that African love that we enjoy so much back home to other people. And this is how we, lead by example. So that's what I have to say about that.
Great.
Perfect. I guess that's pretty much it. Guys, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Leave us some comments if there's anything in particular that you'd like us to discuss on upcoming episodes. Let us know. Share with your friends, follow our social media pages, and have a great week ahead.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.